Ladies and gentlemen, we are delighted to have on WebQuarters TV Mr. Darren Roos, the CEO of IFS. Darren, thanks very much for joining us today. Can I first start off by saying congratulations.
Thank you.
On what is a tremendous World Conference. This is day one, but how do you think it's going?
Yeah, so far so good. I think great turnout this morning. We were standing room only in the hall, which is the way I like it. And I think people seem to enjoy the sessions. The challenge is always that you've got this really diverse audience where you've got obviously the majority customers, but you've got partners, you've got analysts, you've got press, and you're trying to find the right level of content for everyone. And, you know, it's difficult to make everybody happy. But I think, you know, what we try to do is find the right tone on getting the high-level strategy out this morning and then filter it down into levels of detail. So hopefully we get that blend right.
Very good. Very good. Well, I watched Linda's session, and I didn't realize the whole panel were all going to be on with Linda. That worked really well, didn't it?
I think so, yeah. I mean, what we want to try and do is getting the theoretical element from Linda is great, and, you know, she's such a great speaker, and she makes the content very real. But I think being able to bring the CEOs and Craig, former CEO, and Craig sits on the board of Salesforce.com and sits on the board of Nutanix, and he sits on our board, being able to bring, you know, that depth of experience in to talk about kind of real life experience on the challenges that they've seen and the boards that they sit on and the companies that they run, I think is invaluable. So it helps kind of bring the whole messaging together.
Yeah, very much. Can we turn the attention away from WOCO and more to Darren Roos?
It's your podcast.
Okay, I think we should, because every email, every text, which incidentally, anything I send you, Darren Roos, you respond within minutes at any time of the day. I don't think you sleep. I think you just send emails and texts out. But ultimately, there is some important facts to point out about your tenure. You joined IFS April 1, 2018. You have been theoretically in office at the helm, running the company, for 388 days, working days. I appreciate you probably worked a lot more than that with weekends. And you've worked 77 weeks on this business. During that time, you have increased shareholder value by 85%. Every week, Darren, you add more than 1% of value to this organization. Yeah,
I think we some insight that I have would suggest that we probably increase shareholder value by somewhere around 300%.
Yes.
Rather than just the actual revenue growth that we've delivered. So, you know, I think that the business is obviously evolving really well. I'm super pleased. I think the mission was always to try and take what was a good business and make it truly great, and the potential, the kind of bare bones were always there, but in professionalizing it and being able to accelerate the growth and being able to shape the business to be something that was more future-proof by moving to more subscription, increasing the amount of recurring revenue, driving customer satisfaction, making sure that we embraced and built this vibrant ecosystem of partners. You know, those are all elements that really make the business worth significantly more than what it's worth, you know, when I took over.
Well, I think that's true. Subscription is one thing I would like to touch on, but sure. I think the reports that we read from the analysts and commentators say, one, we, IFS, have the best software.
Yep.
And I think certainly from an FSM perspective, it is the number one software in the world.
Yes.
Two, we have the happiest customers in the world.
Yeah. And that actually, you know, I think that means more to me, to be honest. I've been in the industry for 25 odd years, and if there's one thing that I've learned over the last 25 years is that there is very little correlation between customer success, so value realization, and the quality of the software. It's a much more complex proposition, and that's obviously where the ecosystem comes into it, where partners like WebQuarters are able to gain industry expertise, they're able to bring their knowledge and understanding of the product, the industry, the customer requirements, and it's really the fusion of those three things together that delivers customer value. And, you know, I think we have great technology, but the real value in a customer choosing IFS is not about the technology standalone. It needs so much more, because if you had great technology, but you didn't have the methodologies to implement them, and you didn't have the partner ecosystem to implement them, then there simply would be no value realization for the customer, which would be meaningless. So I think that's really important.
Yeah, absolutely. From a partner's perspective, and WebQuarters has been a partner, a very proud partner of IFS since last year, although we've operated in the IFS ecosystem for over 20 years. I understand that partner growth is triple digits. We didn't get the numbers yesterday, but partners are queuing up to join IFS today.
Yeah, look, I think that the partners are queuing up to join, but I think I spoke in the partner session yesterday, and I said that while we embrace partners into the ecosystem, it's also equally important to me that we build a functional ecosystem. Yes. And I think that we look at some of our vendors, competitors, they have dysfunctional ecosystems. Functional ecosystems are where everybody's winning, where the customer's winning because they have choice,
yes.
where the partners are winning because they have vibrant, successful businesses, and where the vendor is winning because obviously we benefit from more software being sold and customers realizing value. Where it becomes problematic is that when you have significant channel conflict because there are too many partners with too little work, then the issue is that partners start to cut corners. They
yes.
start to cost projects incorrectly. They won't go do the extra bits and bobs that are required in order to get that project to be successful. And when that starts to happen, then customers don't realize value, projects fail, and unfortunately it looks bad on everybody. People get fired at the customer,
yes.
Vendors get beaten up, and the partners suffer because ultimately that's a really dysfunctional ecosystem. And so as we build this partner ecosystem, it is super important to me that we're focusing on a functional ecosystem where everybody wins.
Okay, and I've got to echo that from an organization. WebQuarters today is Asia, Europe, and North America. We just announced our Hoist acquisition yesterday. We're 180.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, Derek. We're 180 employees worldwide, and we feel very much that we are part of a global organization. I've got to say, if there were any criticisms before your appointment, IFS is a global business operating regionally and autonomously.
Yeah.
And you've changed that.
Yeah.
How have you gone about that, Darren? How have you made that change in what is relatively a short space of time?
I mean, look, I think the way I used to describe the business when I arrived is that it was really a single product organization and then 8 independent resellers representing the 8 regions. Because really each of the 8 regions went to market in a distinctly different way. They crafted their value propositions uniquely. They costed it uniquely. The maintenance propositions were distinctly different. And obviously that doesn't make for a good experience for a global customer.
Correct.
Who's trying to interact across 8 different regions. That just doesn't work. So what we've had to do is we've had to recognize that as we serve customers that are global, they want to deal with partners that are global, and they want to be able to have an offering that suits itself. To a global operation.
Yes.
And that means that you have to have a single target operating model, a single global target operating model, which we now have. And that means that whether a customer contracts with us in Australia or whether they contract with us in the US, they will get exactly the same customer contract. The maintenance offering will be the same. The partner offerings that they are given will be the same. Our implementation methodologies will be the same, etc., etc., etc. So I think that's such an important part of the change that we've effected in the last 18 months and a significant contributor to the results that we've got today.
Yes, and I also think that IFS today has been considered for many years in that tier 2 space. But and I know you come from that large German ERP player. There is a very disgruntled lower quartile who've implemented such a software, who are now looking at the tier 2. I could be biased, but it seems to me that there is only really one player that fits that gap for the SAP market.
I think when you look at the complex use cases that we service, in my experience, there really are only 4 vendors that can address those requirements.
Yes.
Typically, that's SAP, Oracle, IFS, and Infor.
Yes.
I think the others are all challenged. If you look at Oracle, Infor, and SAP, and you look at their top line, none of them are growing.
Yes.
They're all flat. And they're flat despite significant acquisitions that they've been making. And I think that just talks to the exhaustion that customer base have got with them. They're being forced to do things that they don't want to do, whether that's a move to a new database, whether that's a move to the cloud in a flavor of cloud that they don't want. So many customers that I talk to me about the fact that they're being compelled to move to a new version of a solution that doesn't have functional parity. They're going, but we can't run our businesses there. Right. So they have to look at an alternative. And when there are only 4 people that can do it and 3 of them are choking you to death, then, we are the obvious answer, and we're explicitly taking a different perspective.
Yeah, hence the great campaign, Don't Let Your Software Bully You.
Absolutely, yeah. 100%.
And we're nearly finished in a few of these questions, but we thank you for your time. It's fair to say that in such a short space of time, you have grown a very experienced team, a lot of whom you've drafted in.
Yes.
There is amongst the IFS ecosystem, there is talk of old guard and new guard, and I've got to say, I think those terms today are overused and not appropriate, because perhaps when you joined the organisation, people were shocked by your vision.
Sure. And
shocked by the fact that we're going to be $1 billion in turnover within a couple of years, and we're on track to do
absolutely.
That. But right now, 41% or 40% of service revenues and license sales are going to be sold and delivered through partners from 2021.
Yep.
How have you changed that culture and the overall, I'm sorry for using the term, but the old guard mentality? How have you got them on side with you, Darren?
Look, it wasn't difficult, Alan. At the end of the day, I painted a vision for the future of IFS, which for me was the obvious way forward. We did that, I did that following an extensive road trip where I met with literally hundreds of customers and partners and so on, not the least of which was at the WOCO in May last year, May of the year before. I think that was, for me, it was an obvious way forward. We laid out that vision for the company. And it was a very simple choice as far as I was concerned. I as the CEO, is ultimately accountable for delivering on the expectation of our shareholder. And it was a simple choice for people who were there, whether they were new or old, which is that did they want to help us to be successful in achieving that goal? And if they wanted to be successful, then I embraced them and I would help people to be successful, and we took them on that journey with us. And there were a group of people who didn't believe it, and they're no longer here.
Yes.
I think that that's obviously unfortunate, because I recognize that it would have been better to take them on the journey with me. But what I didn't have the time to do was to spend 6 months or a year convincing them that I was right.
Yes.
Time has proven I was right. And there will be many people who listen to this podcast or will watch our results and see that I was right and they were wrong. And I take no pleasure in that. I really wish that they'd have stayed with IFS. I really wish that they'd come on the journey with us. And I do lament the fact that so many of the old guard, as you put it, didn't stay on this journey with us, because I would love them to have seen the success.
Yes.
But you know what? This is the way it is. I think
they're seeing it now.
No surprise. Yeah.
They're seeing it. I mean, what are we? License sales up by 119%.
On FSM, yes.
Yeah, on FSM. Yeah. We've had single-digit growth for the last 6 or 7 years before you joined.
Yes.
We're now double-digit.
Yeah, I mean, our net total revenue will grow over 20%. It did last year. It will again this year. It's been a rip-roaring success, and really is attributable. Obviously, I played a role in building the team, but that success is a function of the team that's there, and it is equally populated by the old guard, as you put it, with people like Cindy and Glenn, who've played a significant role. Dan, a significant role in helping to deliver this. Frederick in corporate development, Oliver, our CMO, who have all been with IFS for a long time, and without them we would never have gotten here. So yes, the new people have made a contribution, but it was absolutely a team effort, and that team which have delivered us the success that we've had.
Perfect. Your people are suggesting we need to wrap this up. I've got 2 small questions for you, so the first one is, would you come up to Manchester to our new offices at Eden Point and complete another podcast for us when you're in the Northwest?
Absolutely.
You will.
Happy
do that. That's fantastic. And finally, you've only made one real blunder at this WOCO.
Yes.
WebQuarters didn't win Pioneering Partner
Yes,
of
I
the
saw
Year.
that last night, and I had a feeling that was going to come back to haunt me. But in my defence, I had nothing to do with the
I
judging.
know, it's an independent panelist. Darren Roos, we thank you very
Thank
much
you, Alan.
for joining us at WebQuarters TV. Thanks very much, my
Thank
friend.
you. And it's a pleasure to have you guys as part of the ecosystem, and it's a pleasure to be here with you.
Great.
Cheers, Alan.
Thanks, Darren.
Thank you.
Thank you.